Well, it was done before. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember like if we ever had one or I ever had one even somewhere else. But I mean, guys would transfer mid-season. Uh, Sometimes guys would become eligible mid-season. They went before, but they had to sit out until after the first semester, and they'd become so now the team would change. But yeah, in general, uh, you know, it, obviously it's a unique situation. Each one, would there be a coaching change? Uh, does a team have ability? But you know, it's it's something that's out there, and it's something that it can work for a lot of people.
You've been doing this a long time. Have you ever had an injury season like this with kind of more widespread with your roster?
Yeah, it's been and it's nothing overly serious.
Yeah.
It's short-term stuff, and that's frustrating. More so for them. I mean, it's frustrating for us as we try to figure it out, but it's feel bad for the guys that are. Sadu was playing really well when he got hurt. Drew's playing really well, and you want to get those guys back, and and now they're missing time, and they're both new. Freeman was out, with something that happened like the day before the game. Just tweaked it. I haven't had a lot of situations where guys get injured in warm-ups, but it's not really a new injury. It's an aggravated situation. So we just we just hope to always have enough depth to survive it if you can. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
How do you try to contain Ballo on the glass?
He's a handful. The thing about him that I like is he plays with energy. I mean, he's a big wide body guy. A lot of those wide body guys don't. They play in spurts. He's been able to sustain effort, and he's skilled. He's not just a load in the post. He can pass, and he looks for his teammates. And that's really good for your offense. So it puts pressure on us. You got to do your work early, and you got to collectively defend them, not just worry about him because they're the ones throwing it to him. And defend those guys.
Has Drew been practicing since?
We were off yesterday, so we'll see what he does today. I wouldn't expect him to. I would expect him to do stuff today. So we'll see. I wouldn't push him today. Probably won't push him too much tomorrow.
How important is he to what you do now?
Well, he's really important because, we survived the other night with Brock and Josh playing so many minutes. That's problematic over the course of the season. I mean, we have Price, who can play the point and can swing. He's been terrific. So, we can survive it, but you need Drew's versatility, both defensively, and he can play the off-guard position, and he can take over and run the point. Brock can get a rest. Josh doesn't have to play the point, but he can. And so it just changes things if he's out in a big way.
You guys are supposed to play 2 games in Los Angeles next week. Has the conference or anybody started to talk to you about the situation?
Yeah, as of right now, everything's good. Certainly thoughts and prayers with the folks that are going through it out there. They have a women's game at UCLA on Sunday, so we'll see how that goes, if that is played or if that is changed, and then we'll make a decision. I know they canceled the Lakers game, I think, tonight, or postponed it. I think that's problematic moving forward, postponing. So do we try to find a time when we can play it, bye week, whatever? Or do you just, do you move it south? Do you move it east? I'm talking about doing that for the football game, right? So, there's solutions to it. We'll see, because we're supposed to leave Sunday, so we should know by then what our plan is.
Coming out of a big game where you were able to build a lot of momentum with a home win, getting the next game at home, what's that do for your program?
Well, I hope, it bodes well, but I mean, we got a really good team coming in here. They're big, they're deep, they're old, and, so in this league, it's kind of on to the next.
Do you expect Drew to play on Saturday?
I do, but I really have no basis to say that, from a medical standpoint. It's really dependent on how he feels. We'll just be really smart with how we use him these next 2 days and trying to get him ready.
3 of your 4 Big Ten games have really gone to the last second. Do you coach for things like that? I mean, in practice, it's like, okay, it's a 2-minute game, it's a 4-minute game.
We do that all the time because you have to guard you have to go over live your late game packages, whether it's offense, transition, defense, how we're pressing, and if we go zone late for some reason, or if we're switching, if we're trapping. There's all kinds of different scenarios. But then you have your late game packages that you've got to be able to execute. You can have the greatest play drawn up, but if one guy's in the wrong place or screens the wrong angle, the play's not going to work. But like I said to you guys all the time, a lot of times the greatest play designs never materialize anyway. It's somebody making a play. And you hope you have guys that recognize space and time and score. Are we in the bonus? How much time is left on the shot clock? Are we up 1? Are we up 3? Are we fouling? Are we not fouling? I mean, obviously we didn't do that right the other night, but there wasn't enough contact, I guess. I mean, I think Brock thought he fouled the guy. Got to make sure. But like we said the other night, you don't want to foul him while he's shooting when you're up 3. You don't want to give him 3 shots. So that's a fine line. But, we should have just grabbed him potentially. But again, with 1 second, he might just, as you go to grab him, do that. So you practice stuff like that and hope you get it right when the game comes.
Fran, forgive me, I believe Drew just did an interview with Pat and said they were looking at potentially getting the extra year of eligibility. Have you heard anything on that front, or can you share anything?
I think I hope so, but I think my guess is he's referencing everybody getting 5 years, right? I think that's well documented. But when does that kick in for the new guys? Like my son Jack, who will be a freshman, does he get 5 years? Or does that mean every senior gets an extra year, every junior gets an extra 2 years? I mean, I don't know. That would be really complicated. Really complicated.
Do you have a sense about Cooper?
Yeah, Cooper's not going to be ready this weekend. And moving forward, that could be a long shot, but we'll see. That's up to the medical personnel, but he's not going to be ready right now.
Do you guys kind of look for maybe a medical redshirt kind of situation for Cooper?
Well, that would be a possibility. Yeah, I mean he's had surgery and so forth. And it's not been easy for him. I really feel for him because he's a wonderful kid and a really good player. We could really use him. He desperately wants to be out there, but we're on top of his health situation, which is the most important thing. Our guys have been great.
I know with him being out and then Drew being out the other night, Carter got almost 10 minutes of run, and obviously being on scholarship. I know we've talked about him a little bit before, but I guess, can you speak to what's giving you the confidence?
Yeah, he's a veteran guy. He's smart. He's skilled. He's versatile. He's tough. I really wanted to get Seydu some more minutes, but Peyton and Price started cooking, and so was Josh. So that limited it a little bit. But I need Seydu out there because he's a rebounder and he's versatile. He can bring it down. He can make plays off the bounce for people. Very unselfish guy. So we got to get him going. I mean, he'll be a key with regard to the guys we've got injured.
it ever looked as good as it did, where you guys go on a 9-0 run in practice?
You don't see that much. You know, I think everybody would say that when a game goes into overtime, you want to be the first team to score, right? You always want to be, you want to win the tip if you can, and score. That's what we did against Michigan State a couple years ago when we made that great comeback. We didn't win the tip here, but we went on a 9-0 run, so that gives you some level of comfortability, because the way the game got into overtime would have been easy for those guys to hang their heads and blame each other and get so down that you get down 5 quickly. But they didn't. They were like, let's go. You know, this is what we prepare for. The positivity in that huddle was amazing to me. You know, and a lot of coaches get frustrated in that situation, start ripping people, and that's the last thing you want to do. You need them confident going into overtime, and they were.
Where was that confidence coming from in the huddle?
The players. You know, the confidence was coming from the players, but, you know, they were feeding off of me and the fact that my staff, like, we weren't screaming and yelling at everybody because you're stupid, you should have done this, you should have done that. No. It was understandable what happened, the way it happened. They wanted to do the right thing. That happens all the time. We got good kids that are smart, and okay, the foul didn't happen. We're still right there. Let's win this thing in overtime.
I'm
So,
sorry, if I might.
All right,
From where does it come, being down 15 in a game that really seemed like an uphill push, where players just, I'm not going to say shrug it off, but they deal with it and they just persevere?
well, you know, it's a twofold thing. You know, it's what does the team do, but then what do individuals do? Like, you look at Peyton Sanford. He really struggled in the first half. His second half was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. But I wasn't surprised by that because I know him. And so the key is to continue to stay positive with him and with everybody else. And then, you know, we scored 5 in a row, and now it's 10. You know, now it's 4 possessions. You got 20 minutes, like you got, or 15 minutes. I think it was about 15:30. We're fine. Then you just keep coming, and you get it back to even, and then you go from there. But, you know, we've got shot makers, we've got intelligent decision makers, and we're going to keep fighting. It's not an easy team to do it against because they're really talented. You know, Bryce Williams is playing as well as anybody in our league, maybe anybody in the country right now. But they got a lot of guys playing well. You know, they're winning, so they're not a mistake team. I mean, Fred knows what he's doing. He runs good stuff. But you stay the course. You know, the crowd was helpful. The energy level was there. And we had guys that are comfortable making plays, and they made them.